Hey.
Hey, we're on live. Thanks for joining us. Good to see you. It's been a long time. It's been a whole hour since we've talked.
I know.
But it's part of the Dave and
Great show
Dujanovic
today, and I stayed at
debrief.
the state
Yeah,
recording studios at KSL Newsradio, and you're still social distancing at home.
I am. I'm social distancing from home. I can't remember how many weeks it's been now.
I think it's 7.
Are we at 7?
Who's counting? I think next week
That's
will
incredible.
be 8. Yeah, because we began this at the very beginning of March, and we're still social distancing. Hey, we're carrying over the conversation. We're in the second inning of today's show.
That's right.
The hot topic of the day, we didn't spend quite as much time on it as we probably should have on today's show, but that's okay. That's why we're on Facebook Live. The hot topic for the day, just based on all the texts that we received, Dave,
It's been a whole hour since we've talked.
Was the hot
Baseball.
topic was baseball, and youth baseball in particular, with this Taylorsville, league trying to petition the governor to let kids play youth sports.
Yeah, and it was a really interesting conversation. I didn't get to see all the text messages that were being sent. I was really curious to hear from you to see which way people were leaning. Are they, team, let's get playing, let's get the kids on the diamond, or not? But I think, to really get into the mood of this conversation, we need a little romantic baseball music.
Oh, throwback.
Caitlin, can you bring up a little something that we can really, let's get in the mood. Little John Fogerty.
Oh, that's a great song.
I love old baseball highlights.
What was your walk-up song when you played baseball, Dave?
First of all, I was a pitcher. I didn't have any walk-up music. I didn't get to bat.
Oh, you were a PO, huh? PO.
No,
Okay.
Wild Thing was my walk-up. Wild Thing. I led the state in hit batsman. I think I broke the state record in hit batsman my senior year. I plunked everybody.
Hey. All right. Well, you love watching YouTube videos of baseball, right?
I do. It's a rabbit hole that I will spend hours and hours on.
So let's have that conversation with our listeners, our Facebook viewers right now, about whether or not you feel like baseball can be played safely, especially when it comes to kids. We're talking specifically about youth leagues right now, Little League Baseball. Can you convince me, because I'm on team no way, Dave's on team go for it. So are you on team no way? Can baseball not be a contact sport? You cannot convince me that baseball is not a contact sport. I'm a baseball mom. My son played baseball since he was 2 years old. Both of my daughters played softball. He played comp leagues. He went on to college to pitch, Dave. I'm a huge baseball mom. There's no way that a game played right is a no contact baseball game when you're 9 years old.
Well, maybe not for the 9-year-old, but how about just my baseball league, just my softball league? That's the only one. We'll discriminate against all the other little league ones, but we love your comments. So if you have any comments, feel free to send your message right now. In fact, Jennifer Witt just said, listen, if adults can go to the gym and touch equipment, why can't kids play soccer or baseball outside? And I think what really spurred this conversation for me is when I saw the Utah Speaker of the House, Brad Wilson, said, Utah student athletes and fans should be able to participate in non-contact sports while still adhering to some social distancing measures. And I started thinking, I'm like, why not? Because sure, we can adapt, and we've shown that we can adapt our lifestyle. We can adapt the way we play games. We can be smart about it.
Okay. Well, here's the deal. You're going to have to convince me, the baseball mom, that baseball is a non-contact sport, because obviously these parents have not been able to convince the governor to allow baseball to play ball. And they also have not convinced the director of the Salt Lake County Health Department, who specifically said yesterday no team sports in Salt Lake County. So let's just keep the conversation to convincing me that
Okay.
this is a non-contact sport. Let's use me for by way of example. I was a catcher on a softball team growing up, and I loved to block the plate. Just when the ball was coming in on the play, to keep the runner from scoring, and would often end up on top of the runner. That sounds like contact to me. Explain that away.
Okay. The umpire situation. Which one am I tackling? Am I tackling umpire or am I tackling non-contact?
Let's do the catcher. I'm the catcher. I'm coming in contact with another player.
Sweep
How do you
tag.
prevent that? No.
It's all about sweep tag. So you catch the ball and you sweep. You can't block. You can't get in the way. It's safer anyway. In fact, Major League Baseball has gotten rid of the collisions at home. It has to be a sweep tag now. So that's something I think we could do pretty easily.
Okay. Let's go back to my catching days. I would have an umpire breathing down my neck, and he was no way social distancing 6 feet from me, nor could he to accurately call balls and strikes in a way that the parents would not come off the stands and out of the stands and wind up on the field in the umpire's face this close. Explain that away.
Umpires are never going to win, so it doesn't matter where you put them on the field. Everyone's going to hate the umpire. So don't put them behind the plate. Put them 6 feet behind the pitcher's mound. Let them call balls and strikes from behind, in between the pitcher's mound and second base. They're going to get yelled at anyway, so that's a good way to keep them from being in the catcher's ear.
Okay. Everybody touches the ball when the third baseman, and we know this happens in the Little League, makes a horrible throw, and it hits 3 of the players by accident. The ball ricochets off 3 of the players before it gets to the first baseman, who fumbles it around, misses it. The pitcher who's over to back up the first baseman picks the ball. So now it's hit 5 players. How do we make sure the ball is sanitized? It's the 5th play.
There's not an easy way around that. People are going to touch the ball, right? That's just going to happen. But we're not actually asking people to not touch anything that other people have already touched, right? I mean, handrails are not getting sanitized every single time somebody goes outside or every time you open a door. There's a certain level of touching and public touching that we're fine with. And one of the pitches from these Taylorsville families or parents is let's clean the ball in between plays. And you could rotate in several balls at a time, right? I mean, every couple pitches or every pitch. I can tell you, my softball parents, they'd be lined up, boop, boop, boop. It would be assembly line. It would be ball out of play. One takes it, squirts it down. The next one dries it off. The next one gets it in play. They'd all be wearing gloves. And you're probably thinking, that's crazy. Parents wouldn't do that. My parents would be lined up ready to do it. Like no complaints, just so they could watch a ball game. Am I convincing you yet? I think we may have lost Debbie. Oh.
All right, let's see what our listeners are saying, Dave. Rick Hardman, I've seen cornered out of state with additional rules. The umps behind the pitcher's mounds. I've seen that it played that way as well. Fan, this has been a hard pill to swallow for me as well. That not even major leagues not playing, minor leagues not playing, little league can't play. Breaks my heart, Dave.
And I think Major League Baseball, minor leagues are looking at ways they can do it, and perhaps playing in front of empty stadiums. That's something. There's, again, going to be a certain level of cross-contamination. That's going to be natural. But I think if we're taking some precautions and switching out balls, making sure that we're staying apart in the dugout, that the high fives and hugs and everything that we love so much, there's a way to do it. And we've adapted in every other part of our life. Why couldn't we adapt in sports?
Well, not only welcome our Facebook audience, we're also simultaneously broadcasting this on our KSL News YouTube channel. We're so excited to be able to do this. I'm at the studio here, and I can tell I might be even breaking up a little bit. I might be having some Wi-Fi connection issues. Day social distancing from home in Kaysville, as we've been doing for several weeks now. And one of our commenters, Dave, says it's no different than going to the store. When kids come off the field, they have to sanitize their hands if people are concerned.
And I think sometimes we're thinking that all this social distancing and the precautions we're taking is we don't talk to anybody, we don't touch anybody, we don't touch anything that someone else has touched. We don't have that standard. We go to the store, and how many times when you grab a box of cereal has that box of cereal been touched? I'm guessing a lot more than a baseball.
I love Andre Ashton's comment here. No contact? Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. How many baseball players lick their fingers then touch the ball? Sharing
That's
helmets,
illegal.
gloves, bats, sliding.
Andre, that's called a spitball. That's illegal. Nah. No,
They all share helmets. That is true. They usually share a bat. I don't know. I guess you have to sanitize. I just don't think the argument that you can make baseball a non-contact sport is valid at all. I know there are also other leagues like soccer that are petitioning to try to get up and going and up and running. The argument that it's non-contact, any of these kids are non-contact. Hey.
I mean, it's not football. It's not lacrosse. I think soccer's probably got way more contact than baseball does. Baseball, again, everybody's wearing gloves, batting gloves. We've got masks. We've got possibilities there. Soccer has a lot of contact, and they go on for 45 minutes without a break. So it's not like a time that they can come over and sanitize. I think there are certain sports that it is entirely reasonable that you could compete and participate. No question, track would be one of those sports that you could do that. Golf, you could do that easily. Tennis would be fairly easily accomplished as well.
Abby George says, ha ha, we definitely don't share helmets, bats, and gloves. Ha ha. You sure? You sure about that?
I can tell you from the Little League stuff, they definitely share. Little League, you have 3 helmets for 4 base runners. You're always under equipped. But for the competition in high school leagues, most people have their own helmets and bats and gloves.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, we traveled with my son for years. We traveled with our daughters, as you do, Dave. And there was always somebody on the team that would forget a bat or forget a helmet, and they shared. Just did. I mean, It's like, look, this is what kids do, and they're helping each other out. I guess you could, say, no, you can't have a helmet, you can't play. But I think it happens. I think parents think it doesn't happen, but it happens. Scott Williamson, most older kids don't share equipment. I agree with you to an extent. So a lot of time traveling and pretty big tournaments for my son across the country, and they generally don't share equipment. But there was times when they did. They just do. So I guess if you sanitize the helmets or the bats or whatever, but I think you have your head in the sand. If you're a parent, got a kid on a traveling team, and they get to it, and some kids hitting out of the park with that bat they got, the kids sharing bat. And let me tell you, when they get to that age, Dave, my son was traveling a lot with his team without us there. So he would be on. We had a tour bus that the kids took, a tour bus that they toured the country in and played baseball tournaments. So I was at the games, but my son was also 17 and 18 years old at the time. I wasn't the same Little League mom that I was 15 years earlier.
Rick Hardman
This
says,
was
I
a
don't
pee-wee
understand.
ball.
Yeah. Again, but this is a little different world we live in. I think people understand that if you want to play, you have to play by some different rules, and kids will adapt. If it means they can go out and they can play the game or the sport that they're passionate about or that they love, I think they will play along. I think they'll do what they need to do to play with that understanding. Rick Hardman said, I don't understand how in the world they're going to open public swimming pools and think it's okay. I'm way more terrified of public swimming pools than I am of a softball game. Did I lose you, Deb?
Kristen Maddox says, as a parent, sorry, am I freezing up on you?
A little bit.
Is my feed having a problem? So Kristen Maddox says, as a parent that's paying $500 for a bat, it's for us as parents to let the others use it. All right, but you give it to your child to go to a practice with, or you give it to your child to go to a game with, unless you are a helicopter parent and you're standing right behind them at home plate, there's a possibility that your child's going to share the bat. Now, am I worried about that for COVID? No. What I'm saying is that you cannot convince me that baseball is not a contact sport. If that's your argument to get these kids back on the field, you got to be able to convince me. You got to be able to convince the governor and the health for Salt Lake County that baseball is not a contact sport. And to simply put on Facebook that we don't allow our kids to share the bat, well, first of all, there's no guarantee. I don't know how many times $400 bats I bought. My husband worked several part-time jobs as a police officer to afford the gear, and my kids shared. Kids are like that. They want to share with each other. That's okay. But it's beyond that. It's beyond wiping down a bat. Two players running for the ball in the middle of center field. They collide. They're on top of each other. They're out. My son got knocked out once out there. All the players run over and try to help him. So I don't know.
Well, non-contact sport, non-contact sport, it does not necessarily mean there is no touching at all. And baseball is not a contact sport like football, where every single play people are running into each other. It is not that. Occasionally you'll have a situation where people run into each other, but it's not a constant thing. It's not like every single play somebody is touching or running into each other. The ball is the most commonly touched item. And if you swap that out, you can control that as well, I would think.
Kids share bats, but also 90% have their own batting gloves. That's true, except for the one kid that always forgot his on my son's team. We love him. We share. It's not a problem, but it's just a different environment now. So I think there's a lot of things that need to be overcome, Dave, to convince folks that baseball can go on. And then you have a lot of, you're going to have a lot of controls out there. And I watched, at least I probably watched 100 games a season from all my kids, maybe more, 150 games a season. And I just don't see how baseball or softball can be non-contact sports in the middle of a COVID-19 pandemic.
Well,
we're still in
I
a pandemic,
think,
right?
Yeah.
Just because.
Yeah, but we're in a.
We're not in the middle of a pandemic.
Well, but what standard are you looking for? If you're still looking for the standard of everybody stay home, stay safe, no breaking out, then yeah, this would obviously not be smart. But I don't think that's where we're at. Are we literally not going to let anybody play sports for the rest of the summer into the fall? At what point do we start opening things up? And we've gone from red to orange. Do we wait till it's yellow, or do we have to wait till it's green to start playing sports? If we're opening up gyms to adults, then why can't we open up sports to kids?
Patricia's on Team Debbie. Patricia Thomas writes, in 1 year, they go with that. Hopefully this is under control next year. There's a lot more to worry about than one season.
Well,
that's true. We've got a lot on our plates.
Yeah, we have a lot of things on our plate, but I can tell you, not only is it well documented what exercise and activity and staying busy and goals and all the things that sports do for kids. I mean, it's not just, hey, let's have a fun time. Let's send the kids out. These are hopes and dreams and passions, and we're talking about the mental wellness of our children as well. And that doesn't even touch on the scholarships that can be earned. A lot of scholarships are earned in the summer. You know, people think that it happens, just on a whim? No, you've got to have junior and senior seasons and summer leagues, and kids that have desires to play professionally or play at the next level in college, they need to be playing, not only for their own skills, but to be recruited and seen by coaches.
Trisha Gleave says, let them play. And Andrew Lawrence posting on our Facebook page, let the kids play. So Trisha and Andrew are in the same camp as this. They're on Team Dave. Team Deb says, wait a minute, you got to convince me that's not a contact sport. And you just don't have to convince me. You got to convince somebody far more important than me. You got to convince Governor Gary Herbert, and you got to convince the director of the health department in Salt Lake County, who said no team sports. And then what happens when one child comes to the park with COVID? So we let them play, and then what happens if and somebody has COVID and they've all got together, but they've sanitized the hands and they've sanitized the bats. What then?
Isn't it the same argument with opening up schools or going into restaurants or going into gyms? What if that one person comes in with COVID? That's going to happen. We try to mitigate it. We try to minimize it. We try to do our best, but somebody's going to infect. That's going to happen. If we're expecting there to be zero transmission, that's just not realistic.
But what's the protocol? What's the protocol if somebody has COVID?
Well, if you're sick, you can't come.
How does that work?
Right? I mean, we could temperatures before games.
25. Okay.
No, I
think don't show for 5 to 11 days.
Yeah, you're going to have some people get infected. That's going to happen. It's going to happen if we keep them home and lock them away for the entire summer. But is that realistic? Are we really going to lock our kids away for the entire summer?
I think, Dave, I'm having so many problems with my end of the feed here that I can hardly hear you. That maybe we'll
wrap it up. We can wrap it up. We've been going for 24 minutes and 7 seconds. Goodbye. All right, I'll wrap us up, Deb. It looks like you're freezing. See ya. Hey, folks, thanks for joining us on Dave and Dujanovic Debrief every single day. We like to do this little social interaction. Do a Facebook Live, do a YouTube Live, do some of these things to reach out. And it's a great opportunity for you to send your messages. Since we're not limited by 10-minute segments on the radio, we can go 30 minutes on something. So what incredible comments. Thank you so much, folks, for joining in and being part of the conversation. We love hearing from you. It's our favorite part. I can speak for Debbie as well. It's our favorite part of the show is when people call in, when they send text messages or Facebook messages. We love hearing from you because, quite frankly, you have all the great ideas anyway. We just like to steal them and pass them off as our own. There's our secret. But thank you so much for joining us on the Dave and Dujanovic Debrief. For Debbie Dujanovic, I say goodbye. You can listen to us live on the radio on the KSL News Radio, whether it's Alexa or whether it's in the radio, in your car or at home. Any way you can tune in, we appreciate it. So feel free to tune in Monday through Thursday, 9 to 11. For Debbie Dujanovic, I'm Dave Noriega. Thanks, guys. We'll see you later.